Hello and welcome to the Wine Tour. I'm your host, t.w.s Hunt. On the first episode, you joined me, the world's worst wine aficionado, along with Adam, our elite blind wine taster, and Rain, our award-winning wine painter, on a journey into the Northern Rhone. The purpose of this pilgrimage, which took us first to Vienne, then on to Ampuis, was to taste and see what the Rhone region had to offer, being introduced to its fine wines and its even finer winemakers. At Domaine Rostaing, we sampled some outstanding wines, and today promises to provide a cornucopia of culinary and viticultural delights. We're teaming up with the young winemaker Xavier or Xavier Gerard, the man who made this entire wine tour possible. Together, we'll explore more of the Cote rotie, as well as the appellation and town of Condrieu, which is a veritable paradise for the viognier grape. So join us as we step onto the steep slopes of the valley's vineyards, which are some of the steepest in the world. And afterwards, we're going to both nibble and tipple some extraordinary cheeses, meats, and wines. See Adam have his tasting skills challenged, and watch Rain as she surveys the slopes for artistic inspiration. Meet Xav. He's a second-generation winemaker living and working in Condrieu. A few years ago, Xav acquired his father's vineyards, and since then, he's not only expanded the estate, he's enhanced its reputation around the world. In 2018, for instance, his Cote rotie was a top wine on Decanter magazine's tasting panel. Winemaking aside, Xav has been very generous to the wine tour, in part because he was the first to reply to my emails all those months ago. And by a happy coincidence, he was visiting Cambridge at the time. We agreed to meet up, and over a glass of wine, he extended an invitation, even though it was obvious that I knew next to nothing about wine. Likewise, since arriving, Xav has been a great host, showing us everywhere from the slopes of Cote rotie in Condrieu to his new tasting room and cellar door. We're visiting his parents' house and his local haunts, and Xav's even putting us up for the night. And to be honest, I've never quite had a glass of wine or a day of adventure like this. On this leg of the tour, we're in Xav's pickup truck, which for Rain and I feels a lot like being back in Canada. Driving to the first of the three vineyards, Xav is telling us all about the area's different local lore and history. Sadly, the strong mistral winds atop the summit made it difficult to record, as you can hear. The following was about the best that we could capture.
Okay, so right now we're in the block called La Vineyard in the appellation Cote rotie. So that's the north of Cote rotie appellation. As I say, that's my oldest block. So we tie the vines 3 times. That's a pretty long process.
Okay.
Take a while, but that's the best system. Those vines, they're from 1925, so they're like the very old ones. You seen this one? When it's cut super clean like this, it's a jackrabbit. Oh. They put the 2 front legs on the vines and they beat the top. And the vines restart from the side buds. A single vines could live 120, 130 years, but not 100% of them.
Experiencing Xav's plots firsthand gives me a great appreciation for those cultivating on this angle. The 45 degrees with loose soil and stone makes it a poor choice to wear white jeans. However, as an artist, the chance to get up close to the vines is important for me, as living in central London doesn't afford me the opportunity to see vineyards as regularly as I would like.
So this is La London. That's Les Rochins and La London. It's the perfect place to make jokes and scare people. So if you talk about grades, that's yes, 45. So that's La London. Yeah, I go front then. Okay. I'm not gonna have to catch you in the river.
Don't worry, I can swim.
The northwesterly winds that rushed through the Rhone, which helped to regulate the growth of the grapes, was less bullish in this beautiful vineyard, which was planted back in the 1980s.
You see the mother rock, like La Roche-Mer, you see it all over, and that's so close. Sometimes it's like 20 centimeters of earth, and then it's the rock. So a normal vines would have maximum 6 shoots when they grow, instead of having 8 or 10. If I prune canes, the vines would just kill themselves for making the leaves, and they would never feed the grapes properly.
So you see clearly the dark red staining of the iron oxide. It's a very irony soil here. But through it around the veins of quartz, and here you see a little nugget of quartz that's been split.
The vineyard rocked, so to speak, but since we'd already drunk a lot of wine at Rostang that morning, we thought it was high time that we go eat something. It turned out that Xav knew his way around the local store just as well as his own vineyards. Here he introduced us to a special kind of cheese, one that apparently has its own appellation, and we bought a lot of this, plus other cheeses and local meats to go with our wine for our tasting later this evening. And I can tell you now, this was the best wine and cheese jamboree that I've ever attended. Cote rotie is divided in two between the Cote Brune, with its brown, iron-rich slopes, and Cote Blonde, where we are now, with its pale granite soil.
The stone you picked in La London, you see there were all those brown points of iron oxide on that are typical of La Cote Brune. And on this side of the appellation, we call this those hills over here La Cote Blonde, because the soil is clearer. In the north of Cote rotie, on the La Cote Brune areas, the wine are more powerful, richer, but a bit more rustic. And on the south, on La Cote Blonde, they are more finest.
It's nice to look at the leaves and see the shape and commit that to some sort of archive if I want to paint from my mind and try to capture them. I mean, you can't paint anything realistically unless you know what it looks like, what it feels like.
So this one is already, this shoot is already tall enough for being tied. So we'll put him along the post and tie it. So that's not working because it's dry, but that's the nude is like this. You tie and bind. So let's say when you look for this budding, you take your hands from the bottom, and you lift like this, then you can see all the shoots.
Oh yeah.
So this one is starting from the stalks, so it's a bad one.
Yep.
You cut him. This one is nice, they're nice. This one's not. Same, this one is bad, and this one too. And every others they would be tied.
From here we crossed the Appalachian borders and transited from the town of Ampuis to Condrieu, stopping off at the state-of-the-art facilities that Xav is building next to his new house.
That would be a bar for like the tasting room, and that would be the bar room. So the tasting room would be inside the bar rooms, and all the casks would be here. So that little house you got up the fig trees is the one drawn on my label. The vineyard of Cote, that's my premium Condrieu vineyard.
And that little house is exactly where we're headed next in our last vineyard tour of the day. For me, this was a special moment, seeing this small structure standing there like a stone sentinel surveying the entire valley. This house, which features on bottles of Xav's wine, was for many months the symbol of everything I hoped would happen. And the fact that I was finally here, in the Rhone, made it feel like it was truly happening.
When you ask which vineyard would be like my favorite, I would say Cote, so that's the one. Because that's the house of my parents where I grow, and our winery is underground. And that's, well, also my village, so let's say my base block.
At this point, the weather turned against us, into sleet, if not actually the slightest bit of snow, so we beat a retreat into the basement of the house, where the vineyard's retro 1980s tasting room and cellar door are located. First up in our tasting was Xav's 2017 viognier, which, as he describes, comes from a vineyard very near and dear to him.
That block it's been planted in 1988, and that's actually the first vineyard I bought when I was not even 21, and first vintage was 2006. So Adam, I've heard that you was in a tasting crew of Cambridge.
Yes.
So I would let you give us your impression on that.
Perfect. It's very typically Viognier. It's very peachy, very flowery, very. It's almost like a May meadow. It's very floral, very light.
It's clearly a very open bouquet.
Absolutely. It's probably one of the most structured Viogniers I've ever had.
So basically I want the aromatic of the Viognier, but I want to keep a bit of fresh and a bit of acidity as we could have in Northern Rhone on that
kind of tricky variety, because Viognier, it's a variety that didn't travel so well. Syrah is also native of Northern Rhone, and there's a world-class Syrah in many places. Strict Viognier, outside of a blend by itself, it's pretty hard outside of Rhone to find balance. And so that block, from being higher elevation, we could have some years a bit lack of maturity, but we're never missing acidity because it's colder. And the cold keep the acidity. So we're gonna go on two different Condrieu, two different terroirs of Condrieu after that. Let's say my premium block of Condrieu is called La Cote. It's the vineyard just under the house where we was 2 minutes ago. So Condrieu Cote 2017.
These wines were superb, and they just kept coming one after another. Fortunately, Adam was keeping track, doing his wine tasting thing.
So someone who doesn't like Viognier very much could easily describe it as soapy. What Xavier's wines bring to the picture and bring to the Condrieu quality is the freshness, the acidity that he achieves by harvesting the grapes just a little bit earlier, gives it structure and gives it this refreshing characteristic that I've been looking for a long time in a good Viognier.
The one I would be the most proud of is like the tricky years that I did good wine. Because the great vintage, we can talk about 2015, 2018, the amazing years, the wine is made by itself. Like the weather is perfect, the flowering happens amazingly, there's no mildew, no powdering, no black rot, nothing. The grapes came perfect, you put them in the tank. After 3 days, the wine is made by itself. The color, the tannin, the structure, everything is there. You just have to protect the quality and do not waste it. But if you talk about the vintages that was more technical, like 2014 for reds, giving great results, that takes so much skill, so much focus. It's like giving your whole life summer times from early May to August to late October, 9-10 days living just for the quality of your wines. And when we said in France, it's on the bad years you see the good winemakers. I'll let you taste a bit, and after I told you what it is. It was in the fridge, so just give him 2 seconds, don't go bottoms up, and maybe warm it in your hands a little bit. Start by some raisins, some figs, when I talk about dry fruits, but the color is not orange at all, it's like a very still on wine color, not on twills or, yeah. The glycerol, the fat, is all over the mouth, and the minerality is really huge. But the fruitiness of Viognier, like you speak about peach and all that, we don't have it at all.
Absolutely. It's all sort of like tertiary fruit development. It's still got the floweriness to it. I still do get the vibe.
That's when you mentioned honeysuckle, I got it now.
Yeah, but I also get the raisin.
Yeah. That's a bit of dried plum for me. Oh, okay, let's try tasting it. Is it your Chatillon?
So what vintage would you think it is?
Okay, I would be quite opportunistic, and I would imagine it could be a 2010. Or am I wildly off?
You want to play? No, I mean, that's a guess.
We're doing this now.
Well, so rain's very good with age.
I'm going to say ever so slightly older.
I think you're right.
I don't know, 2008.
So that's Viognier 2007.
Oh!
Could be surprising that IGP wines that is 12 years is still that fresh now, so that could be a trick.
After the official wine tasting ended, the rest of the evening was spent touring Xavier's wine production equipment, going for pizza down in the town, and then relaxing at Xavier's home with a few more bottles of wine, and, as we'd say in Canada, shooting the breeze. Sadly, since we had to wake up at 5:45 the next morning, we left it at that. But that was one of the most amazing days I've ever had. Join us as we visit the celebrated estate of Georges Vernet, famous not only for its fine wine, but also its role in quite literally saving the viognier grape from mass extinction. Till next time, cheers.
Oh, not in the mouth.
Isn't that called a French kiss?
French
We are
kiss
in
is with
France.
the tongue. And that's why we got Cote blonde and Cote brune.
So, Xav, who got the better deal, the blonde or the brunette?
That's a so subjective question, huh?
So what's your subjective answer?
Are you talking about blonde girls or blonde rotie or brunette? That's
This is Rain. I'm looking to see what I can paint. Ooh, let me touch this leaf.
I need to remember the shapes of them if you're going to.
Oh, actually, that's a really good thing. Okay, let me capture you saying that.
So not making fun of me anymore.
nice appellation outside.
It's going to be
Outside,
a nice vine.
Do you want to name it?
That have like very good terroir. And there's still more up.
What are you gonna name this vine, Rain? Viney McVine? Vinester? Vine Diesel?
There's some bottles for like 20 years.
So, Xav, you called it a hymn. Are you referring to Vine Diesel?
Cat. No, I don't.
We can just leave him here to name all the rest of your vines.
Yes. And now I need to introduce you to a very special cheese that I always advert for. It's called.
Whoa! Hold on here, team.
Oh, I think he was busy on the camera.
I'm a part of this team.
As we go forward, the shots will get wider.
Let's put it in there.
Do like the Jägermeister. So, could be time to turn red.
Just one more second.
Okay.
Wait, you gotta move your fingernails because they're really gross.
Is rotting Thomas is an idiot? Oh. Thomas, I've seen your hand moving a bit low, so I was.
A bit of dried.
Well, my turn. Maybe I should just try tasting it. It smells like yeah.